Dance with me, everybody.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to my intro voice, Radio Red in the house. Happy to be here. Is it really already March 18th? Was yesterday seriously St. Patrick's Day, wearing green? Was it already daylight savings time? I don't know. We never thought we'd get to spring, and it's just zooming along. No pun intended. Radio Red in the house. Happy to be here. I've got 3 newcomers to the show, and all we do is talk about creativity. What do they do to create their life, their hobbies? We used to use the word hobbies. Now it's passions, excuse me, their work, what they do, how they talk, how they walk, how they answer the phone, everything about the life that they've created. So let me just give a little background here. What I usually do, it's March 18th, the 78th day of 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. And some of you may not know that Gregorian didn't like the Julian calendar because Julian had added a couple of extra days and it wasn't quite in sync. So that way back in the 1500s, I think it was, October 5th was followed by October 13th. Can you believe that? How confusing can you imagine trying to plan a birthday party or a bar mitzvah or a wedding or anything with that kind of crazy? So Gregorian said to his mom, well, he was a pope, Gregory the 13th, but I assume before he got to be pope, he said, I don't like it. I'm changing it. So he moved some extra days around, and now the calendar pretty much follows the moon cycles, and we have the months the way they are. So thank you. I call him one of the early creatives who are documented. Thank you, Gregory. 293 days left to the year. Not time to plan your imbibement, whatever you're going to drink to celebrate New Year's Eve, but I'll let you know when it is. It's the 11th Monday, and nobody cares about that except me. Panelists, I haven't introduced you yet, but we have a little homework to do here. I want you to raise your fingers in the shape of the letter L, please. Make a letter L with either hand on camera. That's beautiful. Oh, Sandra, I didn't see your polish. That's gorgeous. And on the count of 3, you're going to join me in this speed, 1, 2, 3, and say with me, hello, L, just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Pretty good. Jordan's my engineer. Jordan, would you please write down? They come in about 3rd place on all the 11 panels I've had so far this year. Not bad. In sync pretty well. Little lagging, but not well. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Leggs, our most loyal listener. She lives in Whitestone, New York. Those of you who know New York, Long Island, Queens area. She's been trying to move to a place, at least I've been trying to get her to move to a place that starts with L. And I looked all over the country for the L's. And we wanted to move her originally to London, but it was very hot and very expensive. So one day, about a year and a half ago, I was looking at the map and I was going to move myself. And I thought I'd move to London. So, Corey, I tilted my head, which I do because I found out one eye's a little higher than the other. I didn't know that. I just found that out last week. Hello. I didn't look in the mirror. I know, Sandra, an optometrist told me. And I tilt my head, I closed one eye, and in the N in London, the first N turned upside down. It must have been a really strange day, and I don't drink or smoke. And it turned to Loudon, so I moved to Loudon, Tennessee. So I'm trying to get lovely, lanky Laura Leggs to move to Loudon because it's much cheaper than London, and we'll leave that one alone. So I have 3 wonderful guests, and I've met a couple of them. One of them on the National Publicity Summit, one of them through somebody who was at the summit, who was on the show years ago, and one of them through somebody who was on several of my radio shows, not through the summit. So we have a potpourri of origin stories. I'll leave that one alone. So I have a little poem I'm warning the 3 of you. And I forgot to tell you before we started the show, Corey, Rox, and Sandra, behave yourselves. I always warn that to my guests, especially you, Sandra. I'm worried about you. Okay, so Sandra, I'm joking.
I'm worried about me too, but let's not go.
Should have said it to Corey. So I work with ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to write a little poem for me to open the show. And ChatGPT gives me a poem. I send it your bio, Corey's bio, Rox's bio, and Sandra's bio, and asked it to write a poem, and then I edited it. So listen up, and I want you to hear this poem. When I call your name, just wave hello to the audience. We're right now live on LinkedIn, on Facebook twice, on YouTube, and on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. A lot of people are watching and listening to. So here we go. Excuse me. Upon the Read My Lips stage with passion aglow. Can you see my passion glowing as I'm choking here? akaRadioRed with her Scarlett mic on the show. Empowerment's anthem she proudly plays on Cool Conversations as guest creatives amaze. The three of you have to amaze. Here we go. Poirier, TEDx speaker of acclaim. With multi-impact accolades, he's deftly earned his fame. From sales to writing, Corey's journey is his brand. Inspiring people, his books and speeches take a stand. How'd you like that, Corey?
I dig it.
Good. Rox Burkey, wave hello. A business pro focused on customer delight. With a master's degree, her skills shine bright. In the Enigma Series, Rox co-crafts thrillers with clout, tech-infused tales with plots that shout. I hope you like that, Roz.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Roz, thank you. And Charles Breakfield is your partner. I see a picture of him, your writing partner, and he's been on many of my shows. Now we go to Sandra Gurvis. Sandra, say hello. Sandra is a literary queen with so far, 18 books and countless articles. Her talents are widely seen, from the Ringling Circus and Paris Hilton to tales of mystery. Sandra captivates her readers with her storytelling spree. Sandra,
I like that. That's
good. I'll send it to all of you. So I'm calling this show, Corey, in honor of something you wrote to me, The Why of Creativity. Their voices will soar, except not too loud. akaRadio's panel with cool wisdom to explore. In the live streaming realm where our conversations flow, Read My Lips, we've got creativity on the go. What'd you think, all of you? Pretty cool?
Awesome. Very nice.
Thank you. Now, pop quiz. How long, once I put in the opening, rough opening and closing, and I sent it your complete bio, Corey, your complete bio, Rox, and your complete bio, Sandra, how long do you think it took for ChatGPT to send me the core of that poem? Corey, how long?
Oh, wow. A minute?
Okay. Rox, how long?
12 seconds.
Sandra, how long?
I agree with Corey, a minute.
Okay. All right. If you all were taught how to count the seconds, like 1,000, 2, 1,000, before I got to counting the third second, it had delivered the poem to me. That's ChatGPT. And I have an ongoing, not a battle, but a discussion with a tech friend of mine, Dan Geller on LinkedIn. He's told everybody, you don't have to be polite to ChatGPT. You don't have to say please and thank you and would you and how are you having a nice day, because it'll be more efficient. Well, I say please and I say thank you and I say great and I say would you please when I need something else. And it's gotten more efficient. If it could take any less than 2 seconds, it would be, to me, totally magic. So there you go. I don't know how it does it. And then it did take a couple of minutes for me to do the editing. Just want you to know I tweaked the rhyme lines a little bit. So what we're going to do now is I'd like to have you, I gave a synopsis. I squished with ChatGPT. I squished your entire lifetime, whatever you told me, into a couple of lines. We want to know who you really, really are. Corey, I'm so happy to meet you. I met you at a recent publicity summit, and this Thursday I'm attending another one. I do 3 a year. I book between 35 and 40 guests a year. I'm sorry, with each summit 3 times a year and fill my shows for the year, 3 a week. It's an interesting challenge. I call it speed booking, like speed dating. Corey, I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you please do me the honor of giving us a full introduction? Now you get to choose how to sweep everything in your life into your 3 minutes approximately. Corey, welcome. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, lots of fun. That's a short amount of time. I would say, well, I didn't plan to show this and I just realized I have it, but let me get this right.
There you go.
In my pocket, I have a poker chip that says PMA, which stands for Positive Mental Attitude. And it's from a book called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill. And so I would say that describes in a lot of ways how I live my life today. But going back a step, I was raised by a single mother, grew up in a small town, barely graduated high school. I got a 49+1. Didn't know the difference between fiction and nonfiction when I graduated. Didn't read my first book till age 27. So I have this positive mental attitude, but I started out with a NMA, a negative mental attitude. And I was always thinking that I had the next new thing, like I had hypochondria. So if I heard about a disease, I would develop the symptoms. And so in terms of who I am, I feel like I'm a product of a small town raised by a single mother who basically was led to believe that I couldn't achieve, what may have happened since. And what's happened since is I've had the great opportunity to build a career where in addition to getting to speak on stages like Harvard, Columbia, Oxford, MIT, and on multiple TEDx stages, in addition to that, I get to impact lives in a way I never thought possible. So we have a brand called Blue Talks, and within Blue Talks, similar to TEDx meets Chicken Soup for the Soul, we are able to give stages to experts. And I always used to say, I used to be the guy in the surfer as the speaker going, look at me, I'm doing stuff. And now I get to be the guy behind the surfers, the 250 surfers, creating waves for them. So really, ultimately, I went from not being able to do it to having some success in an area I was told I couldn't really do it. And then now ultimately showing other people how to do that. So that's me in a 2.5 minute nutshell.
I have to know one thing is on your multiple TEDx talks, Corey, what are the titles of your speeches?
One of them is the 5 weeds. It's just simply called the 5 weeds. And what that means is the 5 weeds you need to pull from your life to have a fulfilling life. The second one is the how to expand your comfort zone. The third one is what I would say to my younger self. So what would you say to your younger self? And then the most recent one is how schools can inspire creativity. And then, or not creativity, sorry, how schools can inspire purpose. And then the fifth one, which is happening next month, the tentative title, as long as they keep with the title I offered, is what I learned during a 21-day negative news detox.
Wow, 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 wow. I'm going to go look on your 5 weeds. I want to see that. Corey, you've certainly come from a place of no can do, no will be able to do what? Not Corey, to wow, look at me, Corey, and you're helping other people. I'm impressed. Your confidence just, it's coming out of your pores. Very, very nicely done and delighted to have you. I'm glad you pitched me at the summit. So let's move around the table. One seat to Ms. Rox Burkey. Everybody wants to call her Roz, including me, but it's Rox, and she's going to tell us why. Rox, I love your background with, oh my goodness, I know there are a lot of Enigma series books you and Charles Brakefield have co-written. Rox, give us the lowdown. Who are you and what do you do? Rox, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is really exciting. Corey, I love your attitude. You have a terrific attitude. So, I grew up and then I decided to go to college and then I decided to go to college some more. And then I decided I wanted to be in the technology field. And so I started in the technology field and worked for several manufacturers and then decided I had a passion for customer experience, which I still have that passion for. And I bring that to all of my professional customer interactings, is making sure that the best customer experience and workforce experience can be done. However, in the stories, you can only write so many white papers and tech manuals before they become old. And technology moves at such a rapid rate. By the time you get a tech manual done, it is old. So my co-author and I decided we would write stories and we would start with a threat. And he didn't want to do it. He said, no, I'm tired of writing. I don't want to have it. I said, but in fiction, we can kill people and we don't go to jail. So that was the sink in for being able to do fiction. So we write technology thrillers. So each book has a foundation of a tech problem, everything from ransomware to identity theft to cryptocurrency and beyond. But we also joined another group that we get to produce cozy mysteries. So that Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles is another one we play with. And so we have a lot of fun writing stories. My favorite thing, though, is reading books and doing reviews for people and doing some interviews for authors, too. So that's kind of myself in a nutshell.
Very interesting. I'm going to ask you to define for me cozy mysteries. What are those? I hear it all the time, and I've never bothered to ask anyone. So, Rox, you're it. What does it mean?
So cozy mystery is a good mystery, some kind of an adventure mystery. You don't get gore. And if there's any relationship kind of thing, it's all behind the door. So you can have people that love each other, they might give a hug, but everything else is behind the door. The old get a room, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I often wondered about that. I appreciate that. Let's go one more stop around the table to Sandra. Sandra, please, We'd love to hear all about you. I met you through Sherry Paprocki. I did not have the pleasure of seeing you at any event. So this is our first time face to face. I love your room, by the way. It's very cozy, very cozy. I'm putting you, Sandra, on full screen speaker view. Tell us who you are, please, and welcome.
Well, I know what I want to be. I want to be Rox because I've been a lifelong writer. Okay. I've written all these books, and my big passion is wanting to write a mystery satire about the villages. And I'm really struggling to find time to work on it because I've been a writer and a creative person my whole life. And it just goes from one thing to the next. And I want to do that. That's the thing I want to do. And I find that I go through my life and I want to do this and I do this for a while. And then in terms of writing, it's always been about writing ever since I was a little girl. And then I do this and then I want to do that. And then I go do that. And then I want to do the other thing. And now I'm wanting to do the other thing, which is the mystery writing. So that's my thing. I think that writing in terms of the actual creative process is just sitting at a desk and working on it. And I think that's true of any creative process. I think that even if you don't want to do it, you do it anyway sometimes because, and there's times I don't want to do it and then I have to do it. And I feel so much better after I've done it. So it's my therapy. So that and exercise. So that's me in a nutshell.
Sandra, 18 books. Come on, give us a little bit more. Give us a couple of titles. I know your second novel was optioned for a TV series.
Okay.
Come on, dish a little bit. We want more.
Sure, I will. This is my current book, Three Ringling Circus. It looks backward on my screen. I hope it's not
it's perfect. We see it.
Okay,
perfect.
And it's about Sarasota, the Ringling family, and the Ringling Museum, and it's doing pretty well. My other two books, which I don't happen to have, they're in the bag with my book stuff. Is the first novel is called The Pipe Dreamers. It's about the Vietnam protests in the 1960s, late 60s, early 70s. The second novel that I wrote was called Country Club Wives, about women, money, and homeless animals. And that's kind of a mystery satire. It's set in New Wellington, Ohio. And that book did pretty well. It was published a few years ago and it was actually optioned for television. And then I've done a bunch of mystery historical things about Ohio, mostly historical myths and mysteries of Ohio. And then the one that I want to do, it's really kind of a cozy mystery because I like the idea of no gore and closed doors. I think that's a great definition, but it's got lots of satire. Well, it does have some gore and it's pretty graphic. It's not that great, not gory. So three of the villages doing hard time in Geezerville. And I can say that because I'm in that demographic. So if I wasn't, I could, but I am. So there it is.
I have to tell everybody that when Sandra sent me, when we were communicating by email a couple months ago, and she told me what she wanted to write about, I told her that I've been writing for 2 years now, and I can't get myself to finish it, Sandra. I need a little kick in the you-know-what. And I'm not in the villages, but I join you in what you just said. We'll leave that one on the table. It's a satire about an HOA community, and it's called Up Close and Personal: Life and Murder in a 55+ Community.
That would be, yes.
And she said to me, I think we're writing the same book, except mine is not about the villages where it's known as the capital of people over a certain age who are in and out of bedrooms without the doors closed. Right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to be very delicate here. But
my book isn't that clean, isn't that? But it's not.
Mine
horrible.
is, but I'm writing two versions of it. One is where the actual characters with the so-called murder, almost, is it, did it? I'll leave that one on the table. Question mark. I'll call almost murder take place, and there's a twist. And I realized I forgot to finish that part. So I pulled it out of 27,000 words and I made it into a separate document, and I'm trying to finish that. And then I have to blend the two back together again.
Oh, yeah.
But I have read the opening to that book to so many people, and everybody's hysterical laughing because it is damn funny. And I have my own style of writing. Quick question for you, Sandra. Are you a pantser or a plotter? Do you know those terms?
Oh, that's one of the biggest discussions that we have. I used to be a plotter, but now I'm a pantser. Okay. I'm a pantser. Absolutely. And it scares the crap out of me, but it's kind of fun too. So
I am too. Rox, are you a pantser or a plotter, Rox?
I think I'm more a pantser than a plotter, but I do flip back and forth depending on what we're doing. And it's part of the co-author thing.
Yep, I think so. Corey, what about you? You write?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know the terms.
Okay, it's British terms. A pantser is somebody who writes by the seat of their pants. A plotter is somebody who says, I'm going to write 12 chapters, and this is going to be the title of chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. And these are my characters. And then they go in and they fill in, okay, I'm going to write chapter 3 today, and they'll fill it. I'm going to go back and write chapter 1. And they've done it as a plot where they pre-wrote it, and then they fill in the shells, the empty shells. So what are you?
If I can say, the best way I can say it is I'm probably in between the two, but leaning more towards a pantser. And on the plot side, the reason I say close to between the two is I'll usually have the idea in my head and I'll actually plan the beginning and end and some of the middle, but then I sit down and write and then everything comes to life. So I think that's like very close to a pantser, but there's a little bit of plotter.
We'll call it a hybrid. I think we're all a bit of a hybrid, right? Rox wanted to say something.
No, I like that hybrid. It's all the rage.
Yes, most of the people I know are. Thank you all for the bios. Let's go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you to send me a fictional quote from a character in a movie or TV show or a song lyric that you're going to relate to what you do, your creativity. So I've done the research on the background on them, and let's have a little fun with these. Corey has sent us a quote from Butch Coolidge, played by Bruce Willis. Oh, I'm so sad about Bruce Willis now. He's speaking to his girlfriend, Fabienne, played by Maria de Medeiros. I don't know the actress. The movie Pulp Fiction, 1994 crime thriller film. Butch Coolidge is one of 3 main protagonists, along with 2 others in Quentin Tarantino's 1994 crime thriller. He's a retired boxer who was bribed by a mob boss, Marcellus Wallace, to lose his final match in the ring. Butch tries to double-cross Marcellus, oh no, and escape with money, oh no, made from betting on himself, but instead, he nearly gets killed and molested. Oh, that's terrible. Here's the quote Corey has picked. You're going to have to explain this one for us. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. Corey, I have no idea. Go ahead. 2 minutes. Tell me, what is it?
What is the quote and why does it mean?
Yes.
So Zed's dead. The quote itself from Pulp Fiction is essentially Bruce Willis. I mean, I won't get too graphic, but Bruce Willis and who was it? Samuel L. Jackson, I think, are basically trapped in a basement by some guys that have different ideas about what they're going to do with them in the basement. And basically, it looks like they're going to be I try to think of the best way to say that. Their way is going to be had with them by other people. And essentially, one of the characters comes in and basically stabs. Actually, it's Ving Rhames who does it. He comes in and he stabs one of the guys whose name was Zed. And so Zed is this guy that basically they bring people into their place and they have some S&M involved and stuff like that. And basically his name is Zed. And so he is they have a gun on Bruce Willis and stuff like that. And then Ving Rhames makes his way in. And because they did stuff to him as well, he was about to escape and he decided, you know what, I'm going to go back and help Bruce Willis's character. And so he kills the guy and then Bruce gets out and he steals the bike of Zed. And then when he gets to his girlfriend, she said, oh my God, whose bike is this? And he said, Zed. And she said, well, where's Zed? And he said, Zed's dead, baby.
Dead, baby. Zed's dead. Now, what does this have to do with your creativity? That was great. Thanks for the overview. I'm not sure we're all going to go watch it. I walked out of the theater when I watched Pulp Fiction, I think. So yeah, it's a little above my tolerance grade. Corey, what does this have to do with you?
Well, I guess the quote, but also like the bigger picture of the movie itself, because the movie is written in a certain way, and I find I write in that way. So Quentin Tarantino, who wrote Pulp Fiction and directs Pulp Fiction, he writes backwards. So like he reveals the end and then works his way back to the beginning. So if you did leave Pulp Fiction early, that's why you may or may not have resonated with it otherwise, but you need to watch the whole movie because literally the end, like when you're first starting watching it, that's the end. And then he links it all together through the characters by, and brings it back to that one spot where he started. So the Zed's dead part to me, I guess the creativity side was the fact that, he could go through such a level to create a character that could go through that kind of stuff. And then they kill somebody and yet you're still rooting for them. So what I mean by that is a creativity side is I like to write or create characters where they have redeeming qualities, even if initially you don't necessarily like them.
Aha, thank you. I attended a Writer's Digest, a brief webinar on writing, and they said in the first 30 pages, you have to introduce your main characters and make the reader care about them, good or bad, care about them. know who they are. You don't have to finish the whole thing right there, but you've got to introduce them quickly. Yes. Okay. Very interesting. Thank you, Corey. Let's go to Rox. Rox has sent a quote from a title of a song performed by Cody Johnson, American country music singer, in 2021. It's the lead single from his 8th studio album, Human, the double album. A song written by blah, blah, blah. It was a CMA Award for Single of the Year and Video of the Year at the 56th Annual Awards in 2022, CMA Country Music Association, and Grammy for Best Country Song in 2023 last year at the 65th Grammys. And the song conveys a message of optimism and focus on perseverance. In our world today, we could use more set positivity. I think I like that a lot. And here's the quote, which is the title of the song, Till You Can. Rox, you want to sing? I didn't listen to the song clip. You can sing it or tell us a little bit more about it. What does this have to do with your creativity, Rox?
I think from a creativity perspective, one of the things that grabbed me with this song is you don't ignore something, you keep at it until you can't. So from a writing perspective, you keep writing, you keep trying to do better, you keep trying to be more successful. It really came to light when we decided we were going to start writing cozy mysteries, because that's a huge shift from a thriller kind of genre to a cozy mystery. And so it's like, nope, you keep at it till you can't do it anymore. You keep at it, you get up, you keep going, you keep going. And in many ways, I think it's like Corey had said initially, you overcome many things that you have to overcome, and you don't forget your roots. You don't forget your family when you do that. So, and that's what that song brings to me, is family and friends, and don't forget, and just keep trying.
Thank you very much. That sounds like it could be a mantra for Corey as well in your life, Corey. Till I can. I changed it a little bit. There you go. Sandra has sent us a quote from very famous quote from Buckaroo Banzai, played by Peter Weller. The movie, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, shortened to Buckaroo Banzai, 1984 sci-fi, action, adventure, romance, comedy film. It's got so many genres, Sandra, they ran out of dashes, hyphens, and slashes. Film is produced and directed by W.T. Richter, stars Peter Weller, Ellen Barkin, John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, and Christopher Lloyd, with a whole bunch of other people, including Rosalind Cash and other people I don't know. So the story is polymath, Dr. Buckaroo Banzai, a physicist, a neurosurgeon, a test pilot, a rock star. Is that all? It's like Sandra. She's only written 18 books so far. Is that all? Tries to save the world by defeating a band of interdimensional aliens called the Red Lectroids. Maybe they're going to be on my radio show someday. From Planet 10. Anyway, it was interesting. They pitched the story to 20th Century Fox. The box office did very low on this. They had a huge budget, and they only recovered 50% of their costs when the movie was in the theater. However, Pauline Kael of the New York Times and Vincent Canby said it was pure nutty fun. The movie became adapted for books, comics, a video game, and it has become a cult following movie. There you go. Didn't do well at the box office, but who cares? Here's the line Sandra has picked. No matter where you go, there you are. I think other movies have used that too. Sandra, what does this have to do with you? Go ahead.
Well, actually, I want to say that the quote was initially contributed to Confucius, if I'm not mistaken. And, in 2020, I lived in Ohio my whole life. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, went to Miami University in Oxford, and moved to Columbus right after graduating college, which was when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And I was in Columbus for almost 50 years, and I decided to move to Florida for a lot of reasons. I moved to Sarasota, Bradenton, and that's part of the reasons why I wrote this book. And I really love doing it, by the way, so much work. But one of the things that my mother used to tell me, and that I believe, is that you take yourself with you wherever you go. And I think that's important to remember throughout life when you have like challenges. Like I had a challenge and I sat down and I said, no, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I know myself. I know I probably shouldn't have done this. And how can I correct this? And that's all part of that, is reflecting back at who you are to help you as you continue through your journey. So
Thank
Maybe
you.
that's pretty existential, I know, but whatever.
No, it's lovely. Very, very well put. Yes, we do take ourselves with us, and that's probably part of why a lot of us go into therapy. It's like, who is the us, the we, the I, who we're bringing along, and maybe we don't remember who. Anyway, blah blah blah. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Rox. Lovely quotes. I appreciate the work you all did. And now let's go to the part of the show where you've each, in addition to the quotes, I asked you to send me 4 statements about creativity. What does it mean to you? And I'm going to read a couple from each of you and ask you to unpack, as they say on the news. So, Corey, I'll start with yours. Corey, I'm going to read the headlines from 4 of them and read one in detail. You don't have to go find them. I'll read them for you. When Corey's done with his 3 minutes or so, we're not strictly timing here. When he's done with his, we'll call it a friendly 3 minutes. If Rox or Sandra have anything to add to what Corey says, if it resonates with you, you like it, you don't like it, be nice. I think you all have 10 fingers, and one in the middle I don't respond to, but wiggle one of your nice fingers at me on the screen and I will see you. And by the way, has anybody tried out the new things on, watch this. Come on, where is it?
The peace sign.
No. There we go. I can make confetti. I can make storms. I can make all kinds of things on Mac OS now has all kinds of things that got a thumbs up. Let me see if I could do the, I don't know what. Anyway, I can also make hearts come on the screen, but it's very hard to do with the angle I'm at. Anyway, we'll do it later. So, Corey, I'm going to read, sorry to get derailed there, but as one of my guests said to me last week, would you like to turn that off? I said, heck no, it's always fun. I can make it rain. I can have a shower of skyrockets coming out behind me. It's just lovely. So, Corey, I'm going to read the 3 opening lines to 3 of your statements, but we're going to dive into one of them. So here we go. Corey says, creativity means inspiration. Creativity means originality. Creativity means being in flow. Here's the one I want to talk about. Creativity means zen. Effortless create rhymes with Zed, right? Reminds me of the quote. Creativity means zen, effortless creation. To me, creating means I don't have to put effort into creating. When I do, it's not the right time for me to be creating, and I need to revisit it later. I've never had a guest say that, Corey, in thousands of people on the show. That's what intrigued me. So why don't you spend about 3 minutes unpacking that part about if it doesn't come, it's not right time. Corey, go ahead.
Well, one of the things to me that fascinates me about creativity, especially on the writing side, and I struggle with this sometimes, and at other times I'm at peace with it, is that for me, I have 2 ways I write. So I write music as well. So I write music, I write books, like every aspect of that. I feel like what I'm sharing is being channeled through me often versus written by me, which the struggle with that is like, who's doing the writing? Is it something, is it me, or is it actually somebody that's bringing it to me? And what I find is that even though there's times when I do the labor of creating, the times when I don't, it's almost always the thing that resonates with other people the most. And so, for example, the book, which I sort of tried to put behind me, The Enlightened Passenger, which is a book that I recently wrote, and it's coming out next month in April as a pre-order. That book, for a year, I never sat down to write it. It was like, I know what the beginning is, I know what the end is, and there's like a twist in it and all that. I do all that stuff from day one, but it took me a year to sit down and write it. And then when I sat down and write it, every time I sat down to write, it just flowed. Like I never had to think once about what am I going to say here? And I've written music where the best songs I've written that people sing along to at shows and are most catchy are the ones that, again, I sat down, and if it's an 8-minute song or a 3-minute song or a 4-minute song, it was written in 9 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, meaning it was like a minute longer. So the song was written start to finish and never changed again, without me having to sit there and go, what rhymes with orange? So for me, being in flow means to me that it's something that I'm in that flow and I'm in that zone where I don't have to work at it. I don't have to labor at it. And if I'm not in that zone, often I'll say it's time to move away from that. Like, meaning it's time to say, okay, I got to leave this now and I'll come back to it later when I might be in flow. So where that's a struggle sometimes is that there's a lot of people that sit down to write. Like they plan. I'm going to write 5 days a week. Like I know a guy named Gordy Sampson, who's a Grammy-winning musician based in Nashville. He's a songwriter. He wrote Jesus Take the Wheel. by Carrie Underwood. And every week he told me it's 40 hours a week. They sit down in Nashville to write. Like it's like a job. They sit down and write. And so they force it, whether it's in flow or not. So my thing is the guy produced like songs for Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood and all these Grammy winning songs. Who am I to argue that that's not working? I can't say it's not working. For me personally, I find I create best whenever I sit down, everything feels right, and it just comes. If I have to work at it, I feel like it's time to move away and come back again later. That's what that means to me.
Thank you. Interesting. Sandra or Rox, anybody want to comment? Do you have this?
Yeah, I would like
Sandra,
to. Yeah.
Sandra first,
Sorry.
1 minute, and then Rox. Go ahead,
Okay.
Sandra.
Well, I don't. I sit my butt in a chair and write. And some days it goes really well, and some days it doesn't. And I rewrite. And I'm like your Grammy-winning friend. I do it excellent. Well, not 40 hours now, but I do it maybe 20, 25 hours a week. And if I sat and waited for inspiration, I'd be dining with my cat on the street and pushing a shopping cart with my books in it. So I can't do that.
Thanks for the visuals. Rox,
Yes.
talk to me. What do you think, Rox?
You know, Corey, I think it's great that you can admit that and know that about yourself. I think that's a really good first step, that you're saying, hey, it's just not the right time. I'm not in the zone, or whatever it is that you need. I do find that I write better when a character is talking to me. So, you know, I'll sit down and a character will just make my fingers fly. At other times, you know, I do have to find what rhymes with orange. I do. I admit that. And there's not much that rhymes there. So, but I like that you can at least admit that and walk away and come back. It's great.
Thank you. I will tell you all that I wrote a couple of romantic comedy plays about 8 years ago, and I decided I wanted to write a play. So I went online and I found a Playwriting 101, a format for what kind of type to use and what size, and how to use the indentations and the format, how to describe the scene and the character. It was a formula. And I downloaded this and put it into a Word document, and I filled it. Well, I wrote for 3 nights from 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. It poured out of me. I was working full. It poured. And then I was producing and hosting TV at a public access station in Great Neck, Long Island for 20 years. I did 4 different TV shows. And before I got prolific in radio, I was doing a lot of TV. And I contacted some community actors and I said, would you do my plays? And we did green screen. We filmed some backgrounds and we had green screen, big green curtain. And they did the play for me, all gratis, but we had a blast. And then I did 2 more plays also with community, but it just flowed. The characters came to me, Sandra, and they just told me what to write.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
They were here. It was delightful. It's
wonderful. Yeah.
It was like being inhabited by. So I'm going to move on to Rox. I'm picking 2 of your statements here. Let's see where we go with these. Number 1, you say, creativity for me, this is Rox Burkey talking, is a subtle mixture of what I see versus how I want to experience the vision. Let's go with that one. And one more. You say, in my writing, creativity means taking the obvious and twisting it in unexpected yet reasonable ways to make a reader ask themselves, could that really happen? Rox, go ahead. That's interesting. Go ahead, talk.
So I think we'll talk about the second one, and that is twisting things. You know, a lot of times you can look at something, accident on a freeway, crowd in an airport, lines getting into the theater, whatever the case may be. And if you stand it on its ear and pretend it's something else, you can get a lot of fun out of that. They're not standing in line for the tickets to the theater. They're standing in line because there is free dollars at the front of this line. So you're going to love standing in this line. This is a perfect line to be in. So it's just a matter of trying to make it, could that ever really happen? Well, why not? It's certainly possible, but you do have to use some really good vivid descriptions. You have to make sure that it can be something that's relatable, that it pulls upon something that you're familiar with. And so I find that to be a really fun way to approach different scenes, different kinds of, investments that you want the readers to make specifically.
Interesting. So you invite the reader in with something that they can identify with. They can maybe see themselves there or see the person you're describing. Interesting. Corey or Sandra, any comments on what Rox just shared? Everybody good?
Interesting thought. Yeah. The great what if, that's what they call it sometimes.
Okay.
The great what if. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Rox. I appreciate that. And I did want to read one more, just a quick comment from Rox. She says, for me as a child, Rox said, seeing 2 feet of snow on the ground, she called her best friend to help her build an impenetrable fort wall of packed snow 4 feet high, making 50 cannonballs to hurl at invaders, barring the entrance with a wooden sled to peek through to potential friends or foe, and 2 snowmen guards standing watch. I love that. Where did you grow up, Rox? Where was the snow?
That was time that I spent in
Say it again. You froze for a second. Say it again.
that was time I spent in Illinois. So it was in outside of Chicago.
Reminds me of our backyard in Douglaston, Queens. And we had a backyard that was, it was prone to drifts. So the snow would drift against the side of the house, against the hedges between us and the next house, and the fence to the houses below that were way below, down a hill, basically. And the drifts were beautiful. And as a little girl, I would go, my sister and I, and we would put on our boots and our snowsuits, and we would jump into the snow drifts and track our first footprints into the fresh snow. It brought back a memory for me. Thank you very much, Rox. Let's go to Sandra. Sandra, I'm going to do 2 of your statements here because you've already talked about a couple of them. So you say creativity comes from within and affects every aspect of your life. That's one. And the other one is creativity comes from original thinking, listening to others, and coming up with your own solutions. Sandra, talk to us.
Well, the second statement is really what gets me into trouble all the time. Oh, maybe not all the time, but enough time because I listen to what other people say and I try to see both sides. But sometimes I just won't back down. And people are like, why doesn't she just go with, why doesn't she just conform? My logic is that I don't conform because of A, B, and C. I'm not mad. I'm not going to yell at you or cuss you out, but I'm not going to agree with you. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to speak your truth at times. It's hard to do what you think is right. Because sometimes you do end up in hot water, not all the time. But, I think that it's important for each of us to think for ourselves and be honest about not agreeing with someone. I'm not talking politics, I'm talking about life in general, but be honest about not agreeing with someone, and just say, well, this is how I feel. And we can just agree to disagree, but I'm not going to just go along because, this is what the herd is doing. And I've always been like that. It's like when everybody was doing Wordle, I'm like, I am not doing Wordle. It's that kind of thing. It's a little contrarian streak I've had my whole life. So like I said, it gets me into trouble sometimes, but it also makes for, my writing is interesting and people like to read it, I think, because I do look at the world in a very different way. And I do try to investigate every rock and every cranny and every nook. So you get the full picture.
Sandra, one of your titles you sent me in your bio is Careers for Nonconformists. Can you tell us briefly what this is?
Yes, this book actually was published in the early 90s, and it's a guide to unusual jobs and a guide to being self-employed. And this is before people were really, self-employed and working at home. I mean, I started it in the 80s. I read a book called The Off the Beaten Path Job Book I guess it was the 90s. Careers for Nonconformists, I think, was published around 2000. And that book just was, and it's still, I got people still write me sometimes because it's a very practical book about, okay, so I want to work at a career that maybe not everybody wants to work at. How do I go about doing this? And there are very basic things you can do regardless of what job you choose. And then there's all kinds of weird jobs that that aren't weird, that are suitable to you. So I believe in following your personal vision with regards to your career.
And one more question I have to ask you. You wrote Paris Hilton, a biography that was translated into Chinese. I know Corey and Rox are just dying to know what made you pick to write a biography about her.
Well, I liked Paris Hilton and I liked her show. Okay. And they were looking for somebody to do these celebrity biographies for Greenwood Books. And I said, all right, let's do a biography of Paris Hilton. And I did. I am not an expert on her. It's been published years ago. every so often someone will contact me when she has a new TV show or a new perfume. And they'll say, you want to go talk to some French TV station about Paris Hilton or CBS? And I'm like, sure. And then they look into me and who I am, and I never hear from them again. It's okay. I don't live for Paris Hilton. I thought you made a very interesting subject. So
Very
I think it's kind of
interesting.
funny. Yeah.
Rox or Corey, anything you want to add to what Sandra just shared with us about writing or nonconformist or doing what you want to do? Rox, anything?
I really like that you will do your own research to make your own choice. I've never been one that has gone with the herd. Being a nonconformist, I'm the one who would wear, knee highs that are one red, one green, just because I didn't want to match. And so you're right. People don't always have to agree, but I don't agree with people's comments just because they say them or because they're important and they have a title or they're, this or that. I think it's much more important to evaluate things based on the input and the details that you can validate, and that not necessarily going to find 500 of your closest friends on some social media channel. It's more like do your own research. So I like that part, Sandra. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Corey, go ahead.
No, I would just add the nonconformist side. This really resonates with me right now, because this new book is a parable, and it's spiritual, and it's against type for all the other things that I'm doing. So everything I do is nonfiction. I'm helping experts in the nonfiction world, and so I'm doing the launch, and we have this affiliate who he helps affiliates, like he actually works with their partners and relationships. And there was definitely a temptation from their perspective to want me to conform, to say, this is what the book's about. It helps you if you feel you want to lose 10 pounds, it helps you lose 10 pounds. And it's hard for a spiritual parable to hit those, like to cover off all those dots. Like, it's like I said back to them, well, what's the secret about? Who's it for? And I said, really, it could be anybody. You could be a billionaire, you could be broke, it doesn't matter. And it's the same type of thing with this. It's for anybody who's searching for a better life. The reason I bring all that up is because there was a really big push for me to conform this book to make it a simple, here's the problem, here's the solution. And because I'm also reaching out in a lot of ways to the nonfiction world with a fictional parable. So it speaks to me because there definitely is a push for me to conform that with the book. And I have no desire to do that because I'm not a conformist. So that's why.
Thank you. You're on the show with a very much nonconformist, and I'll tell you that I get pushback once in a while, Corey, from people at the summit who agree to come on my show. And when they see the deliverables, what? My bio can only be 999 characters? What? It has to be about my life, not every media appearance I've ever had? What? You need a movie quote? What? You want me to write sentences about creative? Oh no, I'm way too busy. I have a life. This is very unusual. How dare you? I got pushback from somebody at your summit, Corey, the one you were on. She said she just couldn't manage it. It didn't fit her bit. And she gave me a list of the 1,200 things she was doing in her life and how busy she was. And she said, this is very unusual. I don't want to be on your show. So there you go. I have one more statement from you, Corey. I just want a 1-minute response, and then I have some fun stuff to read here. Corey says, creativity means inspiration. We know that. Here, you say, I'm regularly inspired to write and speak based on whom it can impact and the fact that it could potentially live longer than me and therefore have a ripple effect. I don't think I've ever had anybody say quite that. Corey, 1 minute. Tell me, what does this mean?
Well, I talk about what I'm trying to do in the world is create an invisible impact. And part of that is creating a positive ripple, so almost like the pebble in the water that creates the ripple as it goes. And so for me, what this means is I'm constantly trying to have an impact that'll live longer than my body. And by the way, that could be a week longer. Like it's not about me. It's not about what happens after that. But I would love to think that both indirectly and directly, what I'm doing has a bigger impact than me. And part of that, by the way, could be if I impact 1,000 people that live longer than me, they're out impacting people with maybe something I did to help them. So that's what it means to me.
Thank you very much. Quick question for Rox. Do you ever think about your books living longer than you and Charles and people reading them after you're not here writing more?
Yeah, I really don't think about it, but I hope that they are. I hope that that people will do that, but I don't dwell on it. I hadn't considered that.
I hadn't thought about it either. Sandra, quick thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is if it ever becomes a bestseller, I will probably be gone, and I won't be able to enjoy the fruits of it. I'm hoping I get a bestseller, but it's like, yeah. So my children and grandchild will take advantage of it.
There you go.
How an artist pass away, their stuff becomes,
There you go.
That's,
Corey,
yeah.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Rox. Thank you, Sandra, for your interesting creativity statements. This was quite a melange or a potpourri of interesting perspectives. That's why I ask. That's why I don't share with you. I do on my other shows, on my tech show and my business shows. I share with everybody what they sent in advance. But this show, I want you to be surprised. I want that element of, gee, that's interesting, or no, I don't agree with that. I like that. Yes. And I like being surprised too. I have some interesting factoids for you. Today is March 18th. I want you to know we're going to do some music history here, some famous people and not so famous people birthdays, and then some national holidays. We've got 4.5 minutes left and I can do this. So on this day in music history, 1958, Jerry Lee Lewis, everybody remember Great Balls of Fire? He was the first artist to sing 3 songs on an episode of American Bandstand, and he sang them without lip syncing. He actually sang the songs. On this day, 2 years later, the Everly Brothers, Kathy's Clown, Here She Comes, Kathy's, remember, is the first single under their new 10-year deal with Warner Brother Records. Okay. In 1965, 2 things happened on this day, March 18th. On Moosic Street in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a tractor trailer carrying 15 tons of bananas lost control. It crashed into cars, telephone poles, houses, rolled down the hill. It actually killed the driver. Harry Chapin, the songwriter, told the tragic story in his song 30,000 Pounds of Bananas. That's one factoid. Okay. Same day, listen to this. Talk about coincidence. In my mind, the Supremes debuted Stop in the Name of Love on the BBC special The Sound of Motown, and they performed the traffic cop choreography associated with the song Stop. And I was thinking that was the day that the truck was run away. I'm sorry, that's just strange, but it just hit me here. On 1967, on this day, the Beatles' Penny Lane reached #1 on the US Hot 100. There is a real Penny Lane in Liverpool, but the song was written about a bus station. In 1978, the Bee Gees' Night Fever hit #1 on the Hot 100 for 8 weeks, the longest running chart topper of 1978. On this day in 92, Donna Summer. I danced in a disco Hawaii contest. I was a disco dancer with my partner in Eugene, Oregon, and we danced to MacArthur Park Suite to the song Heaven Knows, which was fabulous. I was 98 pounds and he lifted me up over his head and did the spiral and then the death drop. And I had a skirt that was 365 degrees with an opening at, you don't want to know, it was gorgeous. Anyway, Donna Summer got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Members of the Doobie Brothers on this day in 2002 attended the wedding of Liza Minnelli and David Guest. I don't know how long that one lasted, who did PR for the Doobie Brothers. I didn't know that. Petula Clark and Dionne Warwick were in attendance at the wedding. And on this day, let's see, Talking Heads played live for the first time since 1984, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, the Ramones. I dated the brother of the drummer in the Ramones, Brenda Lee, Gene Pitney, and Isaac Hayes. Okay, famous birthdays. Oh my God, we're almost out of time. Vanessa Williams, remember? First African-American Miss America, 1984. Career got derailed, and then she became an actress and a singer. Happy birthday, 61. Queen Latifah, I just saw her in The Equalizer last night. Dana Elaine Owens, born in Newark, New Jersey, 54. Happy birthday. Adam Levine from Maroon 5 is 45. The Broadway actress Sutton Foster is 49. Lily Collins, who acts in all kinds of things. I didn't realize she's the daughter of Phil Collins and the mother of Jill Tavelman. She's 35. And the country singer Dennis Lindy, who wrote Elvis's 1972 hit Burning Love, was born today. And he's 81. Charlie Pride was born today also. And Chuck Berry died on this day at the age of 90. Quickly, YouTube, Michael Huang, 27 years old, 1.5 billion views. Corey, you're sitting down. Billion views of his videos. He's a writer, animator, voice actor, co-creator of a YouTube animated series called Battle for Dream Island. 1.5 billion views. Never saw that before. On TikTok, Greg Metalis, 28. 4.6 million followers. I got to go. Post video and lip sync of videos and comedy. One of his popular videos, Rox, is about girls' insecurity, and he likes to show videos himself washing his beard. He's got a very curly beard. Corey? And on Instagram, Yoni Wicker, 19, has 1.9 million followers. And one of her videos got 1 million. Yes. Today is Act Happy Day, Awkward Moments Today, Forgive Mom and Dad Day, National Lacy Oatmeal Cookie Day, National Sloppy Joe Day, Fragrance Week, Introverts Week, and Teach Music Week. March is the month of everything. I can't even tell you. In 2014, this was at the top of my list in the closing of my radio shows, everybody. Top 10 tips for women. You ready? Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. There we go. I have to close now. I've got one. Am I over? No, 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, everybody join me in this. Life is short. Nod if you agree. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Not so much. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. On the count of 3, laugh with me. It's actually very good for you. It's very good for you. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money because nobody else really cares. Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco, they watched. Sing like nobody's listening. I tried not to sing. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Let your heart regrow, regroup, let it come out and learn to love again. Money talks. Chocolate does sing. La. And last but not least, thank you. I stole this line, Corey, from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Everybody wave goodbye. Don't go away, guests. Radio Red signing off. Jordan, are we out?
All clear. Great.